You carried the weight quietly. You never made a show of it. You never listed what you were holding. You just held it. You made it look easy, like strength was natural to you, like endurance didn't cost you sleep, like loyalty didn't drain you slowly. You smiled through exhaustion they never noticed, not because it wasn't there, but because you didn't want to be another problem. You gave chances, not once, not twice. You gave them until they became a habit. You forgave patterns. You told yourself they didn't mean it. You said, this time will be different, even when the pattern was screaming at you. You waited for effort that never arrived. You waited for accountability. You waited for awareness. You waited for someone to notice the cost. They didn't. And when you finally stopped, not arguing, not begging, not explaining, just stopping, they felt it. Not emotionally at first, practically, in the gap you left, in the silence where your solutions used to be, in the problems you used to solve without being asked, in the strength they borrowed and never returned. Suddenly things were heavier. Decisions felt harder. Support felt thin. The room felt colder without knowing why. You didn't walk away loudly. You didn't announce it. You didn't threaten. You didn't dramatize. You outgrew the place they kept you in. You realized something painful. You were being valued for what you provided, not for who you were. They thought you were replaceable because they never saw the discipline behind you. They never saw the restraint. They never saw how much you absorbed to keep things steady until replacement failed, until the new version didn't think ahead like you, until the new version didn't stay late like you, until the new version didn't care the way you did, until support didn't feel the same, until loyalty felt transactional, until problems stopped disappearing quietly. Funny how absence teaches what presence never could. They finally noticed when it was inconvenient, when it hurt, when there was nothing left to take from you. They lost someone they couldn't replace. And listen carefully now. You didn't leave to make a statement. You didn't leave to prove a point. You left because staying was costing you yourself. You left because strength without respect becomes self-destruction. You left because loyalty without reciprocity turns into quiet resentment. You left because you finally chose self-respect over being needed. And the truth? Losing you was the lesson. Not for you, for them. Some people only understand value after it's gone. And after the silence settled, something else appeared. Not relief, not victory, responsibility. Responsibility for the years you gave too freely. Responsibility for the moments you stayed quiet when truth was needed. Responsibility for the times you chose patience when firmness was required. You are allowed to feel regret. Not the kind that breaks you, the kind that teaches you. Because regret, when faced honestly, is not weakness. It is guidance. You regret trusting too long. You regret carrying what was never yours alone. You regret confusing endurance with obligation, and that regret burns because you know you should have honored yourself sooner. But listen carefully. Regret is only poison when you keep drinking it. When you learn from it, it becomes fuel. Fuel to draw boundaries, fuel to speak with clarity, fuel to stop offering your strength where it is misused. You are not angry because they failed you. You are angry because you failed yourself, and that anger is justified. Not to destroy, to correct. Strength without direction becomes exhaustion. Kindness without limits becomes self-neglect. Loyalty without wisdom becomes loss. You learned that the hard way. And learning the hard way still counts as learning. From now on, your effort has conditions. Your loyalty has boundaries. Your silence is no longer free. Not because you hardened your heart, but because you refined it. You don't owe endless access to anyone. You don't owe your peace to be useful. You don't owe your future to people who only valued your past effort. You owe honesty. You owe discipline. You owe consistency to yourself. And this is where the work begins. Quiet work, daily work, unnoticed work. Work on your character. Work on your patience. Work on your strength with restraint. Do not let loss make you bitter. Let it make you precise. Let it sharpen your judgment. Bitterness destroys. Precision builds. Build habits that protect your dignity. Build routines that guard your time. Build standards that do not bend when emotions rise. You wish you had done this earlier. That is natural. But wishing does not honor time. Action does. Start now, not loudly, not dramatically. Start with consistency. Start with restraint. Start with accountability. You were not taken for granted because you were weak. You were taken for granted because you were reliable. Reliability without boundaries invites misuse. Now you know. Use that knowledge with integrity. Do not repeat the pattern. Do not punish the world for what you tolerated. There is honor in restraint. There is dignity in walking away without hatred. There is strength in choosing growth over resentment. You do not need revenge. You need alignment. Align your actions with your values. Align your effort with purpose. Align your strength with wisdom. That alignment is peace earned. Let them remember you by your absence. You will remember yourself by your discipline. That is the fair exchange. They lost someone they couldn't replace. You gained clarity you will never lose. And that is how loss turns into growth. Carry that lesson with humility. Move forward with purpose. And let your actions speak where words once failed. And the quiet part you don't say out loud, the part that sits heavy on your chest at night, is not anger. It's regret. Regret for how long you tolerated what drained you. Regret for the standards you lowered just to keep peace. Regret for the times you stayed silent when silence cost you dignity. You replay moments, conversations you softened, boundaries you delayed, warnings you ignored because you wanted harmony more than truth. Harmony without fairness is just quiet injustice. And that realization burns. Not because others failed you, but because you failed yourself first. You knew when to step back. You felt when respect faded. You sensed when giving turned into being used, and still you stayed. Not out of weakness, out of hope. Hope that effort would be seen. Hope that loyalty would be returned. Hope that patience would fix what honesty should have addressed. Hope without action delays justice, and delayed justice becomes self-harm. This is where the lesson settles. Not in blame, in responsibility. Responsibility to speak when silence enables wrong. Responsibility to leave when staying corrupts the soul. Responsibility to choose what is right even when it is lonely. You feel the weight now because your conscience is awake. And an awake conscience is not here to shame you. It's here to guide you back to balance. Balance is not pleasing everyone. Balance is not absorbing harm quietly. Balance is standing where truth stands, even if your voice shakes. You are allowed to be firm. You are allowed to withdraw when respect is absent. You are allowed to protect your time, your effort, your peace. Protection is not arrogance. It is stewardship. You regret the lost days, the energy spent fixing what wasn't yours to fix, the trust you gave without conditions. Let regret do its job. Teach, not poison. Learn to place conditions where value is demanded. Learn to measure actions, not words. Learn to leave early when patterns repeat. This is not bitterness. This is clarity. Clarity that sharpens the future. You don't rebuild by hardening your heart. You rebuild by strengthening your principles. You don't close yourself to good. You close the door to misuse. And when the anger rises, channel it. Not into revenge, into resolve. Resolve to show up for your duties with excellence. Resolve to be consistent even when unseen. Resolve to correct your course without noise. Quiet correction lasts longer than loud reactions. You don't need applause. You need alignment. Alignment between what you believe and what you tolerate. Every time you ignore misalignment, it grows. Every time you address it, you heal. Healing is not comfort. Healing is discipline with mercy. Discipline to uphold your standards. Mercy to forgive yourself for learning late. Wisdom to not repeat the lesson. They lost someone they couldn't replace, but you gained something harder to earn. Self-respect rooted in truth. Carry that forward. Work with integrity. Speak with restraint. Choose what is right over what is easy. The past taught you the cost. Let the future show the correction. You're going to be tempted to misread this lesson, to turn it into coldness, to turn it into distrust, to turn it into a hard heart. Don't. The goal isn't to become cruel. The goal is to become clear. Clear about what you accept. Clear about what you give. Clear about what you will no longer carry alone. Because you know what it felt like to carry too much. To keep showing up with a full heart while being met with half effort. To keep excusing what should have been corrected early. You weren't wrong for having a good heart. You were wrong for leaving it unprotected. A good heart without boundaries becomes exhausted, and exhaustion makes you vulnerable to mistakes. So now you rebuild with two hands, sincerity and standards. Sincerity without standards makes you easy to use. Standards without sincerity makes you bitter. You need both. You're not here to erase compassion. You're here to place it correctly. Give it to those who deserve it. Give it to those who reciprocate effort. Give it where it grows goodness instead of feeding misuse. And yes, it will hurt. It will hurt to say no when you used to say, it's fine. It will hurt to step back when you used to overextend. Let it hurt. Pain that protects you is not your enemy. You've been afraid of being misunderstood. Afraid that boundaries make you look harsh. Afraid that firmness makes you look cold. Listen. People who benefited from your softness will call your standards harsh. That's how it works. Let them talk. Your life is not built on their comfort. Now, take this anger and turn it into something clean, something productive. Fix what you neglected. Return to what you delayed. Do the duties you postponed because you were busy carrying others. Start with the basics. Your sleep, your work, your health, your discipline, your time. Not perfectly, consistently. You regret the time? Good. Use regret as fuel, not as a chain. Regret becomes a chain when you keep staring at it. Regret becomes fuel when you move. So move, quietly, with restraint, with integrity. And when your mind tries to drag you back into old scenes, replaying words, replaying disrespect, replaying what you should have done, interrupt it. Not by pretending it didn't happen, by choosing the next right action. The next right action is the cure for obsession. Don't waste your future punishing your past. Correct it. That's stronger. They lost someone they couldn't replace. Let that be a lesson in value. Not value that makes you arrogant, value that makes you responsible. Because now you know what you are. Not a convenience, not a backup plan, not a tool people pick up when life gets hard. You are a person of effort, a person of loyalty, a person of patience. And from now on, That effort goes where it is respected, not begged for, not demanded, respected. And the next time someone tries to test your limits, you won't explode. You won't insult. You won't become unjust. You'll become clear. You'll step back. You'll remove access. You'll protect your peace with dignity. That's maturity. That's strength. That's focus. And that's how you make sure no one ever mistakes your kindness for permission again. This is where the story usually splits. One path leads back to old habits. The other asks you to grow without applause. Growth without applause feels lonely. That's why so few choose it. You will notice something strange when you stop overgiving. The noise around you changes. Some voices fade. Some demands disappear. And the silence feels unfamiliar. You used to fill that silence with effort that wasn't returned. Now you fill it with intention. Intention is not wishful thinking. It's direction. It's choosing where your energy goes before emotions try to spend it for you. This is where anger becomes useful. Not sharp, not reckless, but steady. Steady anger that says, I won't repeat this pattern. I won't explain my worth. I won't beg to be treated right. That anger doesn't shout. It sets rules. It enforces distance. It protects the core. You don't owe everyone access. Access is earned through respect. Respect isn't loud. It shows up on time. It listens. It reciprocates. It corrects itself when it's wrong. When those things disappear, distance is not cruelty. Distance is clarity. You regret the times you stayed too long. That regret hurts because it taught you something true. Don't numb it. Let it sharpen you. Sharpening doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming precise. Precise with your words. Precise with your time. Precise with your commitments. Precision prevents resentment. Resentment grows when boundaries are unclear. When you say yes but mean no. When you smile but feel used. From now on, your yes will be deliberate. Your no will be calm. And your silence will be intentional. Silence doesn't mean weakness. Silence means you've stopped arguing with what won't change. You change yourself instead. That's real power. Power that doesn't need witnesses. You don't need to prove you mattered. Their confusion is proof enough. The absence they feel is the evidence. They lost someone they couldn't replace. And you gained something rarer. Discernment. Discernment keeps your heart clean. It stops you from turning pain into bitterness. it turns pain into wisdom. Wisdom doesn't rush. Wisdom watches. So watch your steps now, not with fear, with awareness. Notice who respects your time. Notice who listens when you speak. Notice who shows up without being chased. Build with those. And when old patterns knock, guilt, obligation, emotional pressure, don't open the door. You already learned what lives there. Instead, return to what steadies you. Your work, your principles, your discipline, your quiet routines. These are not small things. They are anchors. Anchors don't move with the tide. They hold. And one day, without announcing it, you'll realize you're lighter. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped carrying what wasn't yours. That's growth. That's strength. That's the reward for choosing dignity over convenience. Remember this feeling. Not the sadness, the clarity, and move forward with it. There is a moment after loss that no one prepares you for. Not the moment of separation, but the moment of realization. The realization that you were carrying more than your share. The realization that what you called loyalty was slowly erasing you. The realization that staying would have cost you your integrity. That realization doesn't scream. It settles. Heavy. Final. That's why it hurts differently. It's not chaos. It's clarity with weight. You will replay memories, not because you want to go back, but because your mind is reorganizing the truth. Moments where you ignored discomfort, moments where you softened your voice, moments where you chose peace over honesty. Don't hate yourself for that. You weren't weak, you were hopeful. But hope without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. And you felt it. Every time your chest tightened, every time sleep felt restless, every time effort went unnoticed. That was your inner balance warning you, not to explode, to adjust. Adjustment is quiet. That's why people miss it. You didn't leave in anger. You didn't leave to prove anything. You left because something inside you refused to shrink any further. That refusal is strength, controlled, directed. Strength is not loud. Strength doesn't announce itself. Strength moves with restraint. And restraint is what protects you now. You may feel empty for a while, not because something is missing, but because something unhealthy stopped consuming you. Emptiness after loss is space. Space is potential in disguise. Fill that space carefully, not with noise, not with replacement, not with distraction. Fill it with structure, with discipline, with actions that respect your limits. Wake with intention. Work with focus. Rest with permission. Speak with honesty. Leave when respect disappears. You don't owe explanations to those who benefited from your silence. You don't owe access to those who ignored your effort. You don't owe energy to patterns that drained you. This is not revenge. This is alignment. Alignment feels lonely at first because it removes familiar chaos. But loneliness with dignity is temporary. Regret without change lasts forever. Loneliness with purpose does not. You are rebuilding now, not loudly, not dramatically, correctly. Brick by brick, habit by habit, boundary by boundary. One day you will notice something. The anger will soften, the sadness will thin, and what remains will not be emptiness. What remains will be self-respect, calm, focus. You were never meant to be replaceable. You were meant to be irreplaceable, to yourself first. They lost someone they couldn't replace, and you learned something priceless. Never abandon yourself again. There is one last layer to this lesson, the one that separates growth from resentment. You must not carry this forward as a wound. You carry it forward as wisdom. Wounds make you reactive. Wisdom makes you deliberate. And deliberation changes everything. You'll notice it in small moments. When someone speaks without respect. When effort is demanded but never returned. When expectations rise while appreciation disappears. Before, you absorbed it. Before, you adjusted yourself. Before, you told yourself it wasn't worth addressing. Not anymore. Not because you hardened, but because you learned. Learning does not shout. Learning corrects behavior quietly. Now, when something feels wrong, you won't rush to explain it away. You won't rush to fix what isn't yours. You'll pause. That pause is maturity. It gives you time to choose the right response. Sometimes the right response is to speak. Sometimes it's to step back. Sometimes it's to walk away without noise. Walking away is not defeat. It is refusal to participate in harm, especially harm done quietly. You used to believe endurance meant staying. Now you understand endurance sometimes means leaving. That understanding will protect you from repeating the same cycle, from mistaking familiarity for safety, from confusing need with love. You won't chase validation anymore. You won't perform loyalty. You'll give where effort meets effort. That changes your circle. Not immediately, but inevitably. Some people will drift away, not because you wronged them, but because you stopped carrying them. Let them drift. Space reveals truth. Distance reveals intention. Those who respect you will adjust. Those who used you will complain. Both outcomes are useful. And slowly, something settles inside you. A calm that doesn't depend on approval. A steadiness that doesn't need explanation. That steadiness is dignity. Dignity is quiet, but it is powerful. You no longer chase being understood. You prioritize being aligned. Alignment keeps your conscience clear. A clear conscience lightens the heart. A light heart thinks clearly. A clear mind chooses better. This is how focus returns, not by force, but by order. Order in your time. Order in your priorities. Order in your boundaries. Disorder invites exhaustion. Order invites peace. Peace is not comfort. Peace is knowing you did what was right, even when it was difficult. You don't need to be praised for that. You need to respect yourself for it. Self-respect is enough. They lost someone they couldn't replace. That truth will stay with them. But what stays with you is more important. You gained clarity. You gained restraint. You gained the courage to protect what matters. Carry that forward. Build with it. Live by it. And never again confuse patience with permission or kindness with surrender. This time, you remain whole. You stand differently now. Not taller because of pride, but steadier because of truth. Truth doesn't rush. It waits until you're ready to carry it. And readiness doesn't feel heroic. It feels sober. You will still remember them, the moments, the effort, the version of yourself you were around them. Remembering is not weakness. Revisiting to suffer is. You don't owe pain your future. You already paid enough. Now you collect the lesson. The lesson is simple. Not easy. Simple. Give with intention. Stay with dignity. Leave with clarity. You don't burn bridges. You stop walking across ones that are on fire. That's wisdom. And when the world tries to pull you back into old roles, the fixer, the absorber, the one who always adjusts, you will feel the reflex, the urge to step in, the habit of self-erasure, and you will stop. You will breathe. You will choose differently. That pause changes outcomes. Over time, this becomes natural, not effortless, but familiar. Familiar in the way honesty becomes familiar. Familiar in the way self-respect feels normal again. You will no longer explain your boundaries. You will enforce them quietly, consistently. Consistency is what rewrites identity, not intensity, not speeches. One day you'll notice something subtle. You'll wake up without that heaviness. You'll work without resentment. You'll rest without guilt. That's peace, earned. Peace doesn't mean life is easy. It means your conscience is clear. A clear conscience is power, quiet power, the kind that doesn't seek permission. They lost someone they couldn't replace. That chapter is closed. Yours continues, with boundaries, with discipline, with intention. And if the past ever tries to pull you back, remind yourself of this moment. You chose dignity. You chose growth. You chose yourself. Let that choice stand. You feel it when you stop over-explaining, when you answer with fewer words, when you no longer rush to be understood. That shift unsettles people, especially those who benefited from your old version, the one who filled gaps, the one who absorbed pressure, the one who stayed even when staying hurt. They notice the difference before you say a word. You'll see it in their reactions: confusion, subtle frustration, questions that sound like concern but feel like control. Don't mistake that for care. It's adjustment. They're adjusting to not having unlimited access to you. This is where you must be careful, not to harden, not to retreat into bitterness. Bitterness poisons the lesson. It turns wisdom into armor, and armor gets heavy. You don't need armor. You need alignment. Alignment between your values and your behavior. Alignment between your effort and your boundaries. Alignment between what you tolerate and what you believe. You've learned something rare, that giving endlessly does not make you noble. It makes you empty. Nobility is not self-erasure. Nobility is responsibility. Responsibility to your duties, your time, your health, your word. Responsibility is heavy, but it is clean weight. It strengthens instead of draining. You'll start to feel steadier, not happier all the time, steadier. Steady mornings, steady work, steady rest, fewer emotional swings, less drama, more direction. Direction is what you lacked before, not ability, not intelligence. Direction. You were pulled in too many directions, by guilt, by obligation, by the fear of disappointing people who rarely considered you. Now the direction is inward, toward integrity, toward discipline, toward doing what must be done even when no one thanks you. That's when real confidence begins, not when others praise you, when you trust yourself. Trust grows from consistency, from showing up, from finishing what you start, from keeping promises small enough to keep. You won't announce this change. You won't threaten. You won't explain. You'll demonstrate. Demonstration is quiet. It's the calm refusal to be rushed. It's the steady pace when others panic. It's reliability. Reliability changes how people treat you. Not immediately, but eventually. Some will step up, some will step away. Let both happen. Sorting is part of growth. You are no longer available for confusion disguised as closeness, or need disguised as loyalty, or familiarity disguised as respect. Respect has markers. It listens. It reciprocates. It corrects itself. Where those markers are missing, distance is not punishment. Distance is maintenance. Maintenance is not glamorous, but it prevents collapse. You'll still feel sadness sometimes. Loss doesn't vanish, it transforms. You'll grieve what you hoped things could be, the version you imagined. That's natural. Grief for possibility is part of maturity. But don't let grief chain you to the past. Let it guide your standards forward. You don't owe your future to your past. You owe it to clarity. You owe it correction. Correction is not self-punishment. Correction is mercy applied with discipline. Mercy allows you to forgive yourself. Discipline ensures you don't repeat the mistake.